Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first inaugural podcast of Behind the Curtain. In Behind the Curtain, we provide interesting insights on some of our favorite speakers, and more importantly, they teach you things that will help you with your own speaking business. Today's wonderful guests are Hannah Ubl and Lisa Walden, two of our most popular exclusive speakers. They are experts in workforce dynamics, and truly they'll speak to issues in the workplace, generational issues, issues affecting leadership. Basically, if you are in a business and you're dealing with employees, they can talk to you. So welcome, Lisa and Hannah.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you guys. It's really kind of interesting. You guys started out in the speaking business really at what I consider one of the great speaker factories. You guys were there in Minneapolis as part of Bridgeworks, and there's some great alumni that come from there. David Stillman, Seth Madison, all kinds of great ones, including the two of you guys, which is absolutely fabulous. And one of the things that I found so intriguing about the two of you guys was how you got started in the speaking business. It just is great to hear the unique angles that happen. And Hannah, I'd like to start with you. It's interesting because you really started out kind of trying to emulate or mirror another speaker that was out there. And how did you really get from that point in your career to where you are now as a great independent speaker?
Oh, Richard, that is such a good question because as you mentioned, we came from Bridgeworks where there are, iconic speakers where you see them speak and you're like, wow, how does anyone do that? How I want to be just like them. And there wasn't just one person, there were many people. And so when I started, I was really young and I just wanted to basically mirror everything they were doing because then I thought that would equal my success. And over time, I really realized that the jokes that some of them would do, I would try and they just completely fell flat. Like they didn't make any sense. And I know it's so strange that they didn't work for me.
Yeah, why didn't that work for you? It worked for a 75-year-old guy. Why not you?
I know, it's wild. But I learned over time too, there was so much content that some people would find certain content really interesting and I would find other content even more interesting. And so I started to learn over time, it's like, I need to start telling my own stories, sharing the data that I find fascinating. And I remember there's a specific moment on stage where I just decided, I was like, I'm going to kind of abandon some of the script that I've been doing for a long time and that are word for word what I have watched these iconic speakers do. And I decided to just go up there and be a little bit messier because I am messier than some of the people that I watched and be more myself. And after I got off stage, I got the coolest feedback in the world. The client came up to me and she said, Hannah, that was awesome. I really, really loved your content, but honestly, I just loved hearing you speak. And
oh, that's terrific.
It was so wonderful. And it was a really good learning moment for myself because I learned that if I was just true to who I was and I wasn't trying to be these other amazing people, I would be better. And there's room for so many different kinds of speakers and different styles and different approaches. And since then, I've just continued to work on being myself as much as I possibly can be presenting.
It's so important to put your personal stamp on it, isn't it? And that's whether you're a speaker or whether you do what I do or any job. It's so crucial. And it's so great how you discovered it and the way you discovered it, which is awesome. Yes. It's awesome. Well, Lisa, your start to it, a little bit different than Hannah's. You really were kind of a behind the scenes person. And in fact, the first time that I got to meet you, you were not out in front, but now you've gone from being a researcher type person to being a speaker who does 50 engagements a year. So how did that happen, Lisa?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What a fun question to answer, just because if you really, honestly, this is so cheesy, but if you had asked me 10 years ago, would you ever imagine yourself on stage delivering speeches? I would be like, absolutely not. In fact, that could be one of my worst nightmares. The whole, like, people fear public speaking more than they fear death. 100%. I was part of that group. And I think for me, I mean, Hannah's realization was part of what brought me into speaking, in that I realized that it can be just being yourself, being an authentic version of yourself, sharing really interesting, impactful information with a group of people. So as an introvert, I always thought, speaking is an extrovert's territory. That's for people who are, super bombastic and just love talking to people all the time and jump in and da-da-da. And I realized actually speaking is quite different, at least in my experience. It's almost like a one-on-one conversation with a group of people. So you get to dive really deeply into these topics that obviously I'm very passionate about. And you have a room's rapt attention, then you get their extremely insightful questions afterwards. And the depth of the conversation is just what lights me up. And so the fact that I could be authentically me and have those really deep, important, meaningful conversations, rather than being something that, sounds terrible and scared me away from the stage, as I got a more and more of a taste of it, I realized, wait a second, this is an incredible platform and is actually very well suited to me and my personality. So if I can tap into who I am as Lisa Walden and also bring information that I know is making a positive difference in these workplaces, then that's a literal dream job. And that's how I'm very lucky to say that's where I find myself today. So it was a realization that I would not have believed to have had, but I am so grateful to have had it.
Well, I love it because both of you guys came at this a different way, but you both ended up in the same place and you're both so good at it, which is so outstanding. Well, I got to tell you, one of the things that really sets you guys apart in the whole speaking business is you guys are not just great presenters, but you're great customizers. Absolutely. You customize the presentation better than anybody that I know of in the business. And what's really interesting is a lot of speakers claim customization, and they do a little bit, they do tweak it a little bit, but you guys really do it. And so today, I want our teaching segment to be focused on some of the things that you guys do as customizers that some of our speaking audience can maybe use themselves. Tell me a little bit about, and both of you guys jump in, but tell me a little bit about how you guys customize and how you set it up so that presentation at the end of the day really truly meets the goals and objectives of that group.
Yeah.
So I'll jump in. I think I know that we've found that our content is universally applicable, right? Anywhere there's a workplace with people, our content will resonate and can bring value. And every organization has its own distinct and unique culture and set of challenges and perspectives. So for us, it's really critical in order to deliver the best presentation and pick the best themes. We do a lot of research. We look at a lot of different things from trust, psychological safety, communication, leadership, generations. All of these different things are in our toolbox of things that we speak on, but there will be cases where one is more relevant than another, depending on what the dynamics are within that organization. So for us to just come in and, pick randomly out of the toolbox makes no sense. Like, what are we showing up to fix? If we didn't bring the wrench, then we're in trouble. So we need to know what the issue is.
Right.
So we developed a pretty, set standard for how we go into an engagement and how we set that up that works for us really well.
Yeah. So we take a few really important key steps. So first of all, of course, there's always the pre-event booking call, but in that call, it's asking about the goals. It's also asking about what is the company jargon? What are the current stressors that people are dealing with? Do you have recent employee engagement surveys that we can look at and share with the team? What's the latest message that your CEO sent out that everyone has read? It's like getting very specific and also understanding too, some audiences love data and some of them will not listen if you present data.
Yeah.
So we have to ask that question in the call. And that is really only the first step. Then after that, we do so much more research. And I will say, I'll speak to one of them right now. And the biggest one really, I think, is we have a lot of one-on-one interviews with people within the organization. And I don't know how we would deliver our content if we didn't have those calls, because we speak to 3 to 5, sometimes more people within the organization, ask them questions about what they're facing, what their challenges are, how do you describe your culture? And we get to go really, really deeply and understanding the organization. And if we're talking to leaders, we're not just talking to leaders. We're like, we need to talk to people who you lead. So we're hearing multiple different perspectives. So I would say that's one of the most important things that we do for customization, but we do more than just that too. There's a lot. There are many steps.
Yeah. And I will just add to that. The dynamic of those one-on-one interviews is so magical. It's a wonderful space where we create a sense of, and hopefully a true feeling of vulnerability and openness, so that we can really have this open dialogue and exchange with our interviewees. And the things that we learn are so helpful as we use it as a compass to build our content. So there will be many times where we leave an engagement and the client will be thanking us and saying, I don't know how you knew the things that you knew, but it's almost as if you worked for our organization. You just pinpointed exactly the things that you wouldn't know unless you worked here. And I don't know how you pulled that out, but oh my gosh, you hit the nail on the head. And the only reason we're able to do that is we have access to those conversations, to that pre-work, that customization. And that's, we can't imagine doing it otherwise. It would feel like walking in with a blindfold on. For us, it's such a key part of delivering a successful presentation in Keynote is having the conversations beforehand, the research, pairing it, of course, with our own research, but really getting into the organization or association or industry, whatever we're speaking at, whatever event, getting into that mindset is key.
Mm-hmm.
You literally though are working twice as hard when you're doing that. You may love what you're doing, but you're working twice as hard to get the results. But getting that compliment that you talked about is fabulous. That's the best compliment a customer can give you, is if you have worked at their organization. That's fabulous. But I think that's one of the things that people need to take away from this is you've got to put in that extra effort. How are you going to find out what you need to about that organization unless you're willing to take those extra steps?
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
And I would also say, while it is extra effort, I hate this saying. So a better version of the saying, but we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I don't want to kill any birds, but you know what I mean? We're certainly doing work to make sure that our content is as customized and relevant as possible. And this is our work. This is our research. So we're preparing for a presentation while at the same time gleaning important information that we will use moving forward. So it is a finger on the pulse moment of understanding not just what's going on for this specific speech, but that's how we pull patterns of what's going on in the world. How are people feeling? What topics are rising to the top? A lot of leaders are talking about Gen Z and the lack of work ethic, or they're talking about lack of connection in a hybrid setting. All of these conversations, we sense patterns over time. As sociology is our background. Of course, that's what we're looking out for as we're speaking to people, and these things bubble up to the surface. So we are working hard for that specific event, but we're also doing a lot of research that we pull for the bulk of our content and presentation. So it's doing double service. It works in our favor and it works in our clients' favor. So it's an awesome situation all around.
It does.
That's
and
awesome.
I will add to just one more thing is like there organizations that are maybe a really big organization versus smaller organizations. We can't go to them with the same case studies. We can't go to them always with the same stories. And so by having these conversations, we're able to customize every single part of the message or cater it or tweak it so that we can meet people where they're at. And that's really one of the most important pieces is we want to deliver content that people can take away and do something with. But they're only going to feel empowered to do that if we meet them with where they're at right now. So it all really helps in that direction too.
That is a very good point. Very good point. I love how you described all that, and it's absolutely super. I got to tell you, I think it's time for a shameless plug for you guys, and that is you guys, with all this great knowledge that you have a book coming out soon, don't you? Could you guys tell me a little bit about the book, when it's going to be released, and some of those important specifics? Because I think our audience want to know how these smart ladies, what they're doing next.
Yeah, we would love to tell you about our book. We're so excited. It's been a very long time coming. But the title is The Future of Work is Human, Transforming Company Culture for a Post-Pandemic World. Kind of says it all there in the title. Essentially, we in 2020 realized that very quickly that we were experiencing a watershed moment in our history in all kinds of capacities, but also in the work world, that this was going to be a moment that changed the way that we showed up at work. So in 2020, we started writing the book. We started interviewing people who were working through the pandemic, experiencing the shift from virtual to, hybrid to maybe back in person. And we've been following this trajectory for the last couple of years and writing our book, writing our content, essentially with the conclusion that the pandemic shifted the way that we see work and allowed us to humanize our approach to how we show up at work. So how do we do that? Our book is essentially a look at, the case that was made in experiencing those pandemic years, and then a tool guide for how do we move forward now with this information and continue to build these human-centric, people-first workplaces that also thrive from an economic standpoint. So we have a lot of tools, information around, how do we put that into practice? And a super important part of the book for us was it's not just written for leadership. We feel everyone can play a role in building these really great workplaces. Of course, leadership in the organization at large it's a bigger weight, a bigger impact, but we can all play a role. So it's been such a process. It's been really interesting. It's been really hard, but it's almost done. So yeah, the published date is coming up here very soon.
Yes, it's publishing September 19th. Which is very soon. We are so excited. And a huge part of the book too is that it's intended to be something that you can pick up and just open to a chapter about something that's currently on your mind. So whether that's burnout or perfectionism or building connection at work when people are super lonely, or how to communicate. So it's intended to be a toolkit, and you don't have to read the whole book unless you like to. Lisa likes to read entire books. I like to pick and choose. So it's really designed for that. We are so excited for it to be coming out.
Yeah, exciting.
I love it as a possible toolkit for any of us. So even me, as you guys know, I'm not a big reader either, but you know what? Jumping in and finding a little chapter that applies to me, that would be absolutely huge. And you guys have such important data that you picked up along the way. It's a really great benefit for everybody. So I have loved talking to you guys today. Absolutely awesome. Thank you for being our guests today. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Lisa. Absolutely love you guys being here. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for paying attention to our first inaugural podcast of Behind the Curtain. And next time, when you can truly see what's behind the curtain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.